Welcome to this OFS Explainer video, which will provide an overview of the inclusion of higher technical qualifications, or HTQs, as a split indicator in OFS student outcome measures. Please watch this video in combination with the consultation document that can be found on the consultations page under the publication tab on the OFS website. If you have any additional questions or queries, please get in touch with us via email at lle@officeforstudents.org.uk. This video will outline our proposals, the reasons for them, and what we expect them to achieve. We are going to start with some background, then look at how the OFS organises student outcomes data and uses numerical thresholds, what the dashboards currently look like to give context, and why we want to include HTQs as a split indicator. Then we'll explain how the dashboards would change, the impact on data returns, and the broader implications if we adopt this proposal. The government has set out its plans to improve higher technical education. HTQs can help people train, retrain, or upskill for high-skilled jobs. The government recognised that HTQs are a distinct type of higher education, and students on HTQs have early access to the lifelong learning entitlement. The Department for Education is focused on growing high-quality Level 4 and 5 HTQ provision. It has asked the OFS to provide additional funding for these courses through the public grant funding that supports strategic priorities. We have allocated 16 million of funding in the 2023 to 2024 financial year to providers with eligible learners on Level 4 and 5 qualifications. Priority is given to supporting courses leading to HTQs. The student outcome data has three measures for individual providers: continuation, completion, and progression. Continuation measures report the proportion of students continuing in the study of a higher education qualification, or that have gained a qualification 1 year and 15 days after they started their course, or 2 years and 15 days for part-time students. Completion measures report the proportion of students that have gained a higher education qualification or were continuing in the study of a qualification 4 years and 15 days after they started their course, or 6 years and 15 days for part-time students. Progression measures use responses to the Graduate Outcomes Survey to report on the qualifier's labour market and other destinations 15 months after they have left higher education. They report the proportion of qualifiers that identify managerial or professional employment, further study, or other positive outcomes among the activities they were undertaking at the Graduate Outcomes Survey census date. How do we organise student outcome data? These measures, continuation, completion, and progression, are subdivided by indicators, for example, mode and level of study. Indicators are further separated by split indicators, for example, time series, subject, student characteristics, course type, and teaching arrangements. We use indicators and split indicators to separate and look at the performance of individual providers based on their student population, mode of study, level of study, and other course or student characteristics. Numerical thresholds. For each indicator, such as mode and level of study, we set minimum numerical thresholds. These numerical thresholds relate to the proportions of students we expect to achieve positive outcomes. We use numerical thresholds to make judgments under initial and ongoing Condition B3 about whether a provider is delivering positive outcomes for its students. We are now going to look at what the Student Outcomes Data Dashboard looks like and identify its main features. This is a screenshot of the Student Outcomes Data Dashboard. You can see in the top left where we have select a provider that all OFS registered providers are currently showing, but you can select individual providers. We can see the measures tabs at the top and the indicators to the left-hand side. The numerical thresholds are shown in light blue, and the continuation indicator value is shown in black. The continuation indicator is the rate at which we have observed students achieving a positive outcome relating to the measure in question. The green shaded bars surrounding the continuation indicator represent the distribution of statistical uncertainty around the indicator value. You can also click on the eye next to the proportion of statistical uncertainty distribution column, and you can get these definitions and also specific information concerning the data shown. So what is the current position? Currently, all HTQs and the students studying on them are included in our other undergraduate OUG level of study. If we made no changes to our current approach, student outcomes for HTQs would be counted with other level 4 and 5 courses. The HTQ split indicator will sit under the HTQ split indicator will sit under the other undergraduate indicator. The current numerical thresholds that apply to the other undergraduate indicator are for full-time other undergraduate students, 75% for continuation, 65% for completion, and 45% for progression. For part-time other undergraduate students, the numerical thresholds are set at 55% for continuation, 55% for completion, and 65% for progression. We want to ensure the numerical thresholds are appropriate and therefore they will not currently be changing. So what do the dashboards currently look like and what would change if we adopted this proposal? This slide shows a screenshot of the OFS data dashboards if you scroll down to the provider level data on the data and analysis pages of the OFS website. In this video, we're going to focus on two dashboards. Data Dashboard 1, the Student Outcomes Data Dashboard, and Data Dashboard 2, the Sector Distribution of Student Outcomes and Experience Measures Data Dashboard. We will start with Data Dashboard 1, the Student Outcomes Data Dashboard. Again, you can see the measure tabs along the top of the dashboard, and you can see the indicators on the left-hand side. To see the split indicators, we need to go into the detailed view. Here in the detailed view, you can see the split indicators that can be selected. For illustration purposes, I'm going to select full-time other undergraduate students. As stated previously, all HTQs and the students studying on them are included in our other undergraduate level of study under course type. If we made no changes to our current approach, student outcomes for HTQs would be counted with other level 4 and 5 courses. You cannot currently see the proportion of other undergraduates that are on HTQ courses. It should be noted, however, that if student numbers are low, at less than 23 students, then the data for indicators and split indicators is suppressed. If we add the HTQs as a split indicator, then it would appear here under course type. We're now going to focus on Data Dashboard 2, Sector Distribution of Student Outcomes and Experience Measures Data Dashboard. Again, this can be accessed by scrolling down our Data and Analysis webpage, and the link is shown on this slide. This dashboard looks different to the student outcomes dashboard, but you can see the measures, indicators, and split indicators here at the top and select the options required from the menus provided. Currently, you cannot see data concerning HTQs, but if we were to adopt this proposal, then the HTQs would appear here. So why do we want to include HTQs as a split indicator in OFS student outcome measures? We want to be able to show performance for HTQs separately because this would allow us to consider the growing profile of HTQs, test the extent to which a different numerical threshold may be appropriate in the future, take regulatory action where appropriate in relation to the outcomes for students studying HTQs. What is the impact on dashboards? If we adopt this proposal, it will mean that we would include a new split indicator labelled Other Undergraduate Higher Technical Qualifications in the Student Outcomes and TEF data dashboards. We would also include a new type of provision on the Student Numbers tab within our Size and Shape of Provision dashboard. And the location of these is shown on this slide, and the link is in the bottom left-hand corner. What is the impact on data returns? There would be no direct effect on the data that OFS registered providers would be required to return about individual students to either JISC as a designated data body or the Education and Skills Funding Agency, ESFA. JISC have already published a notification of change to the student record that requires providers to accommodate an additional course initiative to capture HTQs. For further education colleges that return data to the ESFA, ESFA is not making a change to the individualised learner record to accommodate HTQs. Providers should work with the ESFA to ensure that information held on the ESFA's database of learning aims is up to date. On this database, learning aims with an HTQ should have a specific category code of 55. Student records for an HTQ in the ILR will be identified using this category code. So what are the broader impacts? If we adopt this proposal, it will mean that we could assess a provider's compliance with Condition B3 based solely on the outcomes for students on HTQs, but only in relation to the existing numerical thresholds set for other undergraduate courses. It also means that when a provider applies for registration, we would consider whether it had delivered outcomes above our minimum numerical thresholds for students on HTQs. It would also mean that we could choose to prioritise HTQs as part of our general monitoring of Condition B3, but this may result in us investigating a provider that had delivered outcomes below a relevant minimum numerical threshold. It would also mean that anyone with an interest could identify the proportion of positive outcomes that individual providers deliver for their students on HTQs, and that other regulators and government bodies may use the available data to inform policy. The consultation deadline is 5 p.m. on the 9th of November 2023. Please submit your response by completing the online form at survey.officeforstudents.org.uk/s/HTQ-consultation. If you have any additional questions, please email lle@officeforstudents.org.uk. Thank you for listening.